Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from the Frontier. Thank you as always for stopping by. Almost every asset class looks like it's gone to sleep. Have a look at this chart to get further confirmation of that. It's a very curious situation. S&P 500 has closed at another record. This is from Holger, and over the weekend I wrote, developed markets, stock markets have been on a roll for a few months now. Actually, if there's one thing President Trump can take credit for, is for the hijinks in the stock market, because it's entirely coincident with November the 8th. Home thoughts taken one early morning this week in the Masai Mara. She really is quite beautiful, so smart, alert, regal, and so totally unfazed by me, David Yarrow. And that took me back to Giuseppe Tomasi di Lampedusa's The Leopard, and if you haven't read it, you must. Love, of course, love. Flames for a year, ashes for that. To rage and mock is gentlemanly, to grumble and whine is not. And she loved him still, but the pleasure of shouting, "It's your fault," being the strongest any human being can enjoy, all truths and all feelings, were swept along in its wake. That's from The Leopard. And on that note, let me put up a photograph of a leopard that I took in a tree in the Samburu. Singapore vending machine dispenses Ferraris and Lamborghinis, an exotic used car dealership designed to resemble a vending machine in Singapore. Dealership houses up to 60 exotic cars in a 15-story building which uses a fishbone-type lift system to deliver cars to clients within minutes. There you go. Political reflections. Mutinous soldiers pose with their weapons in the street of Ivory Coast central second city, Bouake. My friend from the Ivory Coast, who's stationed in the Kinshasa Hervé, is very concerned. France's newly elected President Emmanuel Macron has named Édouard Philippe as Prime Minister, according to a statement from the Élysée Palace. The 46-year-old lawmaker and mayor of Le Havre is from the conservative Républicain Party. He's got such a tailwind. Look at this photograph of Macron with Merkel. They like each other, don't they? And I think he's just a breath of fresh air, and everybody is getting behind that. Putin says he hasn't decided which song to play when he meets Trump. Of course, he was playing the piano as he waited for his meeting with Xi Jinping. Trump met with the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi in the White House. It never stops, one White House official said via text message, basically chaos at all times. Trump and the Saudi Prince Mohammed bin Salman are the most dangerous men in the world, and they are meeting next week. This is Patrick Coburn. Many people view Donald Trump as the most dangerous man on the planet, but next week he flies to Saudi Arabia for a 3-day visit, during which he will meet a man who surely runs him a close second as a source of instability. This is Deputy Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, 31, the de facto ruler of Saudi Arabia since his father, King Salman, 81, is incapacitated by old age. Has won a reputation for impulsiveness, aggression, poor judgment in the 2.5 years he has held power. Early on, he escalated the Saudi role in Syria, thereby helping to precipitate Russian military intervention, and initiated a war in Yemen that is still going on and has reduced 17 million people to the brink of famine. Combine his failings with those of Trump, a man equally careless or ignorant about the consequence of his actions, and you have an explosive mixture threatening the most volatile region on earth. Prince Mohammed is also the defense minister, is not a man who learns from his mistakes or even notices that he has made them. Less than a year after his father became king in January 2015, the BND German intelligence agency issued a warning. that Saudi Arabia had adopted an impulsive policy of intervention abroad, and blamed this on the Deputy Crown Prince, whom it portrayed as a naive political gambler. The degree of alarm within the BND about his impact on the region must have been high for them to release such a document, which was swiftly withdrawn at the insistence of the German Foreign Ministry, but its predictions have been fulfilled disastrously in the following 18 months. Prince Mohammed appears to give credence to the theory of a grand anti-Sunni conspiracy orchestrated by Iran, saying that since the Iranian Revolution in 1979, Iran has been trying to control Muslims in the Islamic world and spread the 12 Jafari sect in the Islamic world, so Imam Mahdi comes. One word for that, cuckoo. The White House is doubtless conscious that the one-time Trump has won universal plaudits in the US when he fired missiles in Syria and dropped a big bomb in Afghanistan. Trump and Prince Mohammed may be very different in some respects, but both know that fighting foreign foes and waving the flag shores up crumbling support at home. Well. Pyongyang residents gather around a newsstand to read an official media report on North Korea's latest missile test. The New Yorker has an interesting article, North Korea's consistently apocalyptic propagandists. Most regimes that come under pressure tend to become apocalyptic propagandists. I remember Saddam Hussein in particular. Xi's wild geese chase, the Silk Road Gold by Pepe Escobar. President Xi Jinping invokes Ming Dynasty heroes' geopolitical development strategies and wild Asian geese analogies to portray China's New Silk Roads initiative as the flagship of a trade-focused New World Order. President Xi Jinping used the two-day New Silk Road International Forum in Beijing to establish China as the flagship of a new benign trade-focused world order. This was, said Xi, a new model of win-win and cooperation that will prevail over gunboat diplomacy. At the start of the conference, China's state broadcaster Xinhua made clear that the initiative, officially first called One Belt, One Road and now Belt and Road, was not neo-colonialism by stealth. China needs no puppet state, said Xinhua, which essentially repeating what Xi delivered in his keynote delivery. China is willing to share its development experience with the rest of the world, said Xi, but we will not intervene in other nations' internal affairs, export our social system and development model, nor force others to accept them. Xi went on to offer exhortations from Ming Dynasty navigation master Admiral Zheng He as a friendly emissary, before delivering a metaphor for the New World Trade Order that he had just outlined. Wild swan geese, he said, of the large, rare, and wild bird found in Asia, but not in Europe, are able to fly far and safely through winds and storms because they move in flocks and help each other as a team. On the 19th of August 2013, I wrote a piece about Admiral Zheng He, who was a Muslim and a eunuch, and who visited the Swahili coast. And I said, of course, the first engagement between China and Kenya occurred in the 15th century when the Chinese Admiral Zheng He, a Muslim and a eunuch, visited the Swahili coast. Naturally, the Chinese have been keen on ventilating the story of Zheng He's 15th century visit because it is a soft power gift horse. You will recall the discovery of Chinese DNA on Pate Island, and the story is that that DNA belonged to Chinese Ming sailors who were shipwrecked and then married the local women. Let's move on to the currency markets, where the euro has broken through 110 to trade 110.06 last, dollar index below 99.9890. Japanese yen 113.36, Swiss franc 0.9953, the pound, about which I'm a little bit less bullish, 129.21. I think we'll go down a bit before we go back up again to 130. Aussie dollar 0.7424, Indian rupee 64.095, best currency in Asia. South Korean won 11.1799, Brazilian real 3.1098, Egyptian pound 18.1145, and the rand at a 2-week high 13.15. Dollar index, I'll put up a 3-month chart, and we've definitely turned here. We've failed at 99.50. We've come off that now. We're giving up ground. And I expect that we're going to give up some more ground, because I think the euro dollar has the potential to go up quite considerably from here towards 114.50. Euro dollar, take a look at this. This is the 3-month chart. Last trading 110.08. I think we're now hurdling 110 definitively, and we move up to 110.40, 50. Nikkei flirted with the 20,000 level once again, but it's very inversely correlated to the yen. Gold, let's take a look at that, 1234.85, stabilized in tit, found good support at that 1218 kind of level, where it spent a few days. Oil price indicators flash by as OPEC expectations grow bigger. Price curve check, technical markets check, oil market just got bullish, and that's left OPEC with little room for maneuver when it meets in Vienna next week. Prices jumped 2.1% on Monday after energy ministers from Saudi Arabia and Russia said they favor prolonging crude output cuts by global producers through the first quarter of 2018. Reaction, shorts got squeezed higher. I'm not so sure that this is the beginning of a huge bull run to 60 or something. Not at all. In fact, I think we're going to fail again. Cotton prices hit the highest level since 2014. Iron ore spot markets all over the place on Monday. Take a look at the iron ore chart. Blame hipsters for making these foods more expensive. Hipsters have been blamed for polarizing trends from jeans to facial hair. Now they're making it more expensive to enjoy breakfast. Blame it on unicorn toast, whose rapid spike in popularity has contributed to a surge in cream cheese prices. There's also fads like avocado toast and exotic coffee drinks that have driven up costs for avocados and vanilla beans. Even cauliflower, a staple in the vegan diets favored by some hipsters, is near a record high. Unicorn toast features bread topped with cream cheese and various food colors or superfood powders swirled in, and Instagram is loving it. Unfortunately, it isn't the cheapest way to recreate as cream cheese prices have risen 31% over the past year. It's even worse with avocados, where a 22-pound box of Hass avocados from the state of Michoacan, Mexico, now costs more than double what it was a year earlier and is the highest in data going back 19 years. Cauliflower's rise from vegetable afterthought to darling of the vegan and gluten-free diet has already contributed to a spike in Canada's consumer prices. Vanilla's price, better laid at the feet of corporate America, but hipsters can't be absolved entirely. Starbucks calls attempt to tap into the seemingly bottomless appetite for all things unicorn. Frappuccino, anyone, has sent the cost of the bean within striking distance of a record. Interesting developments. Cocoa jumps as unrest continues. In top producer Ivory Coast, cocoa extended its biggest weekly gain in 5 years. After talks between army commanders and mutinous soldiers and the world's top producer, Ivory Coast failed over the weekend. Beans jumped as much as 4.4% in London as Ivory Coast military was said to have given soldiers an ultimatum on Sunday to drop their pay demands and end a revolt. It doesn't look that good at the moment, and some of the shooting was occurring just 2 kilometers from State House in Abidjan. Police take position in a street in Abidjan, Ivory Coast, May 15, 2017. Emerging markets, Asia's top FX trade is the Indian rupee. It's climbed 6% against the dollar this year, as Asia's third largest economy and lured more than $14 billion into its bonds and equity markets. Narendra Modi has been a silver bullet for Indian assets. Slaughter of Africa's donkeys for China hurts poorest farmers when the impoverished West African nation of Niger imposed a ban on donkey exports last year. A small community of traders just over the border in Nigeria was devastated. Before the ban, you could see thousands of donkeys here, said Mohammed Sani, a 45-year-old trader in the Nigerian town of Jibia, as he wiped the sweat off his brow. Now look at them, there's no more than 50, crippling the business. Donkeys are being slaughtered at an alarming pace to feed a global trade in donkey hides that's fueled by soaring demand in China, where the skins are used to manufacture a gelatin believed to have anti-aging and libido-enhancing properties. The gelatine known in China as Ijiao is so popular with middle-class consumers that a Chinese producer has created a donkey exchange to help companies find enough hides to keep their factories busy. With its large donkey population and close trade relations with China, Africa is a key target for donkey buyers. Annual global sales of the cooked gelatine may be worth as much as $2.6 billion, based on the 2014 per kilogram sales price in China, according to the UK-based charity, the Donkey Sanctuary. The skin trade is really something that just came out of nowhere, and it's the biggest, fastest crisis we've seen. People in poor communities can no longer replace donkeys if they've been stolen or slaughtered because the prices are just too high. Niger halted exports of the animal and completely prohibited their slaughtering after it found that donkey exports in the first 9 months of 2016 had almost tripled compared to the whole of 2015. In neighboring Burkina Faso, the doubling of the price of a donkey and the slaughter of 45,000 donkeys out of a population of 1.5 million prompted the government in August last year to impose an export ban. In Kenya, the net economic value of a working donkey is $2,300 a year. If you sell it for slaughter, you get a fraction of that. It will give you an income for a single month. The donkey is worth a hell of a lot more alive than dead. Before the ban, I imported a truck packed with donkeys from Niger almost every week and sold them at $44 per donkey, said the trader. Now the price has risen to $150 or higher. Put up a photograph of donkeys that Bloomberg published, and one of donkeys on the road to Lake Magadi that I took, and another photograph of the hot springs of Lake Magadi, which are already worth a visit. US takes Sudan off state-sponsored terrorism blacklist. That was a long time coming, but we knew it was. My piece over the weekend was about the rebound in African stock markets. Take a look at that. Africa plays catch-up. Compare largest African countries by population with their equivalents. This is from Carlos Lopez. South African all shares up 6.71% this year. Dollar versus rand, big old rally in the rand. It's at a 2-week high. This is, I think, on optimism that the Constitutional Court will rule against President Zuma. I don't think that's going to happen. Nigerian all shares up 2.38% year to date, had a fall yesterday at 2.41%, but had such a strong run higher, if you recall. Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index is up 12.85% year to date. A lighter shade of grey, Africa's informal economy is receding faster than Latin America's. Shadow economy in Africa is still equivalent to about 40% of GDP. According to their results, the informal economy is equivalent to almost 40% of GDP in the average country of sub-Saharan Africa. That is a big number, but not as large as it was in the 1990s when it was almost 45%. Indeed, Africa's rate of informality may now be lower than Latin America's. The African average masks a wide range from under 25% of GDP in Mauritius and South Africa to about 65% in Nigeria. Lovely set of photographs from Matia de Meida capturing the changing face of Angola and the divide between rich and poor. A huge crowd to support democratic culture in Burundi and reject access to power through unconstitutional shortcuts. This is from Ambassador Shingiro, who is on the government side. Uhuru spends, Raila promises, says Africa Confidential. President Kenyatta is demanding that Parliament pass a supplementary budget bill to complete the near impossible task of bringing down basic food prices and cost of living, which opinion polls indicate is the chief concern of the Kenyan elector. He has ordered the Treasury to prepare the figures, which will presumably mean more subsidies. Kenya shilling was last at 103.21. As I wrote over the weekend in Nairobi, the all-share crashed 10.11% from the start of the year until March 8th, which was the low for the year. We've had a meaningful rebound of late. The Nairobi all-share is up about 3.34% year to date, 3.32% year to date. NSE 20 is up 1.35% year to date. Kenya Airways is up 23.07% year to date. And a number of shares have hit 2017 highs of late. Once again, thank you for stopping by. I'm always grateful.